push this ball towards that goal some. As Bradley stamps away only as far as Tinnerholm. Looking to reset now. Chance for Medina. Watford could keep it out. Letting it go. Maxi Morales. Chance to seal it. Maxi Morales has done it. Buzio to win it for Kansas City. And he has.
We have nothing to lose today. Nothing. But we have a lot to gain. Guys, if we pull this out tonight, everybody's going to be talking about us. Everyone. And now you go from being a team that people don't know very well to, oh, who's this guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy in that team? Maybe we have to start taking them seriously. Huge opportunity, man. Huge opportunity.
Manager Marc Dos Santos had his team fired up. Welcome to MLS's Back Post-Game Show presented by Audi. A nail-biter for your nightcap. Sporting Kansas City taking on Vancouver, and the story was all this guy through most of this one. Thomas Hasal, the 21-year-old third-string goalkeeper. Kalen.
Jill, you can say that again. Third stringer, 21 years old, steps into net in his first MLS start. They find a way through to the next round, and wow. Tonight, he was fantastic. I mean, the entire Vancouver Whitecaps, you got to take their hat off. But Hassall was the one that was capturing the headlines and the highlights because it was a lot of one-way traffic here with Sporting Kansas City threatening net. And you just kept thinking, Doyle, at some point you're like, can they nick one? Could this actually be the upset that nobody thought going into this?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the upset was inevitable at some point, and then this right here, a little bit of a scary moment. He was brave. He came out, made the right play. He took a hit. They checked him, and he was able to continue going after this one, and able to keep making big plays throughout the full 90 minutes, even into stoppage time. And right here, it's Melia making the big plays, but it felt like a Cinderella story unfolding right in front of us. But, Goliath usually beats David. And when it comes to stopping penalty kicks, Melia is Goliath. He is literally the best penalty stopper in MLS history, a higher save percentage career-wise than Nick Raimondo. And then this right here, youngster-on-youngster violence. Gianluca Busio wins it for Sporting Kansas City.
And credit to Tim Melia, obviously experience here, the difference, but still, what a showing from Hassall. And when you look at these statistics, Sporting Kansas City, outshot them 36-8. Hassall finishes with 8 saves on the night. Now they get the loss. Vancouver is sent home packing. Sporting Kansas City will stay in Orlando on to the quarterfinals. Let's take a listen from the manager, Marc Dos Santos.
Not concede a goal in the last 180 or more minutes. Being a team that was very organized and knowing what we wanted to do in the last 2 games, it was clear. And our guys are coming out of this stronger, better. Our group is fantastic. Our players that worked so much on the field are a great group of guys, and that's why they were able to push and do well. And we got knocked out against a very good team, a very good Sporting Kansas City team, where we played equal and where our guys have to be proud of themselves.
Alonzo, go ahead, please.
Hi, how are you, Coach? I know it's a tough loss, but it was a great tactic during the 90 minutes. It was amazing how you put out the formation, the lineup, everything was perfect. Unfortunately, the PKs is a different story. But what can you rescue from the team for the whole tournament, knowing that you have players back home that they can make this team even better and stronger?
Yeah, we just think about the full puzzle. Guys, Bikel, Maxime Crépeau, Brian Meredith, Eric Godoy, Andy Rose, David Milinkovic, Toss Ricketts, Freddie Montero, Lucas Cavallini, all guys that are out at this moment. So when we look at the full picture, we have to be confident that we're going to make this team grow. Everybody's working hard for that. We lost tonight in penalty shots. We're sad, we're disappointed because we felt that we were close. But then you have to put that aside, look at the big picture, look at what we could look like, and keep working. We're in the right direction as a club. Our culture that is being created by everyone is the right one, and we will be a strong club. I'm very confident about that.
Nico, go ahead, please.
Hey, Coach. Just, obviously it was a great game, and I wanted to ask you, individually, you get a couple of guys like Christian Dahome here tonight. I wanted to know, what were your thoughts on Dahome, on Jordi Reyna, a couple of those individual performances that have shined throughout this tournament beyond any result?
Yeah, what Christian brings us is
Perspective there from the manager, a very shorthanded side in Vancouver, making a statement here tonight. But as for the winners, let's throw it over to Sporting Kansas City. The Heroes are standing by.
Together all at once and hopefully pick the right side. And tonight I thought, the guys taking the shots on our team, they're really good penalties. And as a goalkeeper, you tell yourself, just try to save one, and the guys are going to put all theirs in. And tonight we were lucky to get out of there in 4 rounds.
Next question will go to Ari Lilienwall. Ari, your line is open.
Hey guys, my question's for Tim. Tim, I believe you're now 5-0 in your career in penalty kick shootouts. Is there anything in particular that you attribute that to, and is that a part of your game that you take a special sort of pride in?
I don't think so. I think it's just another piece. We try to be the most complete goalkeeper you are, and you have to work on all different facets of your game. I think in all the penalty shootouts that I've been in, the shooters, especially on this team, have always done so well. And most of them have scored, and I've had to make a save or two, so a lot of that comes down to the team.
Next question to Sean Goodwin with Kansas City Star. Sean, your line is open.
Hey Tim, obviously you didn't have a whole lot to do tonight, but looking down the other end of the field, you got Vancouver's 21-year-old keeper, who quite frankly kept them in the game. Just from what you could see down the other end, what do you have to say about his game?
Yeah, he was the difference maker all game, right? I think that we controlled a lot of that game. We could have maybe had a little better execution in front of goal, but he changed the entire game. He kept that team in. He's a very young goalkeeper, and he had a great performance. And the future is bright for all the Vancouver's goalkeepers. I think they're all very talented, and they have a very good future ahead of them.
Final 2 questions. We'll go to Seren Petro and Ari Lilienwall. Seren, your line is open.
Boos, kind of on that line, you guys got a lot of shots. I think they said it was a record for shots. A lot of them on goal. Did you sense any kind of frustration setting in? And is that something you got to guard against, not making a mistake if you get frustrated and letting an easy run out go the other way? Did everybody stay sharp, you feel, even though it had to be frustrating with all the chances you guys were putting on the net?
Yeah, it's always frustrating when you have a lot of chances and you can't put them in, but I think the guys we have on the team know just to keep on pushing, and we kept on creating chances, and maybe on another day 2 of those or 3 of those are going in the goal. So I think it's good that even though we're not scoring, we're still creating them, and it shows that we're still going to try no matter what. And obviously the goalie had a good game, and we could have been better in the final third, but if you keep on trying, one of those is going to come off, and hopefully in these next couple games they will. And yeah, that's all I can say is keep on trying until they're going to go in eventually.
Busio plays the hero tonight as he scores his first career PK as Sporting Kansas City sticks in it. They will stay in Orlando, and they will take on Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union. Let's break this one down a little bit. Matt Doyle, in our pregame show, you didn't totally predict everything about this one, but it was more or less what you kind of alluded to, that Vancouver would bunker down and Kansas City would grind away, and eventually they found a way to win it.
Yeah, and that's what it's about in knockout round tournaments. And Obviously, you don't want it to go to penalties if you can avoid that, though. Maybe having Melia on your team, you kind of do want it to go to penalties because he's unstoppable, or he's the immovable object in that situation. But I think everybody came into this game understanding that Vancouver was going to give up a ton of shots, and it was going to be up to Sporting Kansas City to just be a little bit sharp in the box, maybe poach a goal, maybe be first to a rebound. But you have to give credit to Vancouver for being sturdy at the back and for being up to it, and then just getting a spectacular performance from the kid. These weren't easy saves, it was just one after another, and that's how you win a job, and that's how you put pressure on the guys in front of you. And this is a kid who has come through the Whitecaps Academy. The Whitecaps have this academy system that goes throughout most of Western Canada. They scout. That's how they found Alphonso Davies. And this is a kid who's from Saskatchewan, and they were able to bring him into Vancouver to train with the first team a couple of years ago. They signed him, and he's had experience at the lower levels of the Canadian national team. So, I was joking that he looks like the paper boy because he looks so young, but this is a kid who's been in a professional environment for years. This is why you invest in that if you're the Whitecaps. And based upon a 2-game sample, they might have something special here in this kid. So you tip your hat, but at the same time, the right team won. Sporting Kansas City were the protagonists the entire night. You play this game 100 times, they win it 95 of them. And that's what you have to do if you're going to win a trophy at the end of this thing.
Yeah, Doyle. Yeah, the best team won and all that, but this was amazing. The reason why this story is incredible is like what you're saying, is it was something out of a film. This kid from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, it just sounds so unlikely with the broken finger to Crepeau, and then Brian Meredith sadly having to leave the tournament due to a death in the family, and then in steps a third-string keeper from the academy that has never played an MLS match. And he steps into the last round of the knockout games. And honestly, he almost got a red card in the beginning. I mean, he comes off this line, and I'm thinking, is this guy going to make it through the end of, is he going to see the end of this match? And if not, what's going to happen there? And from there, he began to settle a little bit. And in this game as well, he had that sort of early moment where he sort of dribbles a guy, and you're thinking, oh man, this is kind of like a young keeper right on the edge. He slams his head against the in-goal cam at the time. We thought he almost got another concussion where a knee slams in the back of his head. But the guy had a match that was out of this world. I mean,
Kalen, look at this. Look at that.
Hey, that's not game 1, Doyle. That's game 2, bro. This is but it was all, it was all just so fun to watch. And you have to say, beyond that, yeah, I think the talent is clearly there. It's not just a great story. It is really undergirded by some real ability and frankly, some mental toughness to be able to get through that. And I thought when you look at that Whitecaps team, yes, they got outshot 36-8 or whatever the figure was. I think I lost track at some point. But the mental toughness of the goalkeeper to kind of really hang on, and for a long stretches, this Vancouver team had to do the same. They almost had a couple chances to nick it. Theo Bair had a deflected one, a couple set pieces, a couple good looks there, and you thought maybe they were going to sneak away with one. But the story was Hassall for me, and one of the more entertaining tournament matches of MLS is back.
Kalen, I know you're neutral and a professional, but were you low-key rooting for Vancouver in this one? You just sound... it's hard not to root for the kid, right? You just want to see the full story come to fruition. But like Matt Doyle said, the better team at the end of the day won, and that was Sporting Kansas City. Looking ahead, they will now take on the Philadelphia Union. Doyle, how do you think we see that one play out? How do these two teams match up?
Well, Sporting have played better throughout this tournament than Philly have. Philly's really struggled to create the type of high leverage chances that they kind of thrived on last year. I think they're missing Harris Mendunian in terms of their ability to sort of transition from the back to the front and get into the attacking third in good spots. But they have the hottest keeper in the hottest keeper in the tournament. Andre Blake has been arguably the MVP of the entire tournament. He's been he's been amazing game after game after game. I don't think it'll be as lopsided in terms of shots as what we saw tonight, but I think the smart money going into this one is on Sporting KC controlling the game, and I would say of the two teams, Sporting are probably a slight favorite in this game as well.
So that's Matt Doyle's take. Let's check in with Peter Vermes' take.
Timmy was tremendous, and I thought our guys that went up and took him were, look, they were confident. We had been working on them, but they were confident, and we do pretty well when we get into those areas of or this area of tournaments.
And then Timmy in goal. I mean, when you have a guy like Melia back there, that has to give you some confidence heading into the penalty shootouts. And would you say he's maybe the best penalty shot stopper in the league? Maybe.
I don't know. Hard to say. I think Tim does a really good job on penalties just in regular games, and so I'd say he's one of the best for sure. Whether he's the best, I'm not really too sure, but he's definitely one of the best because even during the season, he always seems to find a way to make good decisions. He's got a really good eye for reading what players are going to do.
Next question will go to Ari Lilienwall. Ari, your line is open.
Hey, Coach. Looking ahead to this next match against Philadelphia, what's the approach and what are the things that you want to see from the team and work on ahead of that one?
Yeah, it'll definitely be a different game. They have a lot of energy, that team. They, from front to back are very solid. Their team plays on both sides of the ball for sure, really, really well. There's not a lot of holes in their group, and so we expect it to be a really, really tough match for us, and it'll be different. We're at 8 o'clock, I think the game is, so we're going from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 8 p.m., and who knows, we'll see where the next one goes, hopefully after that if we get through.
Final two questions will go to Seren Petro and Sean Goodwin. First up is Seren. Your line is open.
Peter, I know Tim was great. That goes without saying, but you guys putting it in the net on the PKs were great as well. Is this the best group you've had? Like, you find yourself in those situations? Is this about the best you've ever been able to run out there in a situation like this?
I think the group has a lot of improvisation in it. You can work on pattern play and different things and give ideas to guys, but at the end, when the other team starts posing different situations, it's hard to manage that from the sideline during the flow of the game. And so when you look at players that we have, and I go through a ton of them, right? You got Johnny Russell, you got Kyrie, you got Daniel when he came on, you got Girso, you got Allen, you have Gotti Kinda, Boost when he came on. Those guys have a lot of improvisation within the game, and what you can tell is that they're all starting to get familiar with each other and starting to understand more and more all the time what attributes each of them bring. But they definitely can create stuff out of nothing, which is something we haven't had in this team for a long time, and not at this quality across the board.
Final question goes
When
to
Sporting Kansas City arrived in the bubble, they asked why they didn't come in a little bit earlier, and Peter Vermes said, well, we don't plan on going home early. And the manager making a case tonight for exactly that. And as we mentioned, they'll have Philadelphia next. We heard from him. Let's talk a little bit about the veteran goalkeeper, Tim Melia. Obviously, they said it. He's 5-0 in penalty kick shootouts. Experience clearly the difference here tonight.
I mean, experience, and he's also, like, he has a similar story to Thomas Hasal in that he was kind of overlooked and unexpected. He was a Chivas USA guy. He was a league pool goalkeeper, and when he finally won that job with Sporting Kansas City in 2015, he had to win it over a Chilean international goalkeeper. He has earned. He took the hard route to get to where he is, and he has held on to that job for the last 5 years with both hands. And he's been spectacular. I think you could make an argument that over the past half decade, he has been the best goalkeeper in the league. And certainly in this situation, there's no one else. Like, other than prime Nick Rimando, there is no one else that you actually pick in this situation. And he showed it in 2015 U.S. Open Cup, he showed it in 2017 U.S. Open Cup, and he's shown it now tonight in this tournament.
Doyle, the Nick Rimando shout is actually a really good one, and not just for their shared qualities in pens, because I always felt like Nick was a little bit underrated as far as, and look, also behind some top goalkeepers as well. And Tim hasn't really gotten his look with the national team yet. He's a guy that I think still should be given that opportunity. But when it comes down to the penalty kicks, I mean, he's going against 4 Vancouver Whitecaps guys. I'm not sure that was necessarily a lot of film on those. You're not going through and being like Dahomey, Owusu, Cornelius. I mean, Jordi Reyna probably have some film on there. It was just instinct, right? And it's just that extra bit of skill and quality to, on that line, be able to read the body language of the players and make a big save.
Before we move on from this game, one guy that we would be remiss not to talk about is who we saw at the top of the show, Marc Dos Santos. And just the way that he is able to get the best out of this team. I mentioned they're shorthanded. They're on their 3rd string goalkeeper, and he's still keeping it positive, and they're building. How much credit does he deserve for what not only Vancouver did tonight, but what Vancouver was able to transform in this tournament alone?
A lot. I interviewed Marc Dos Santos before the tournament began, and this was a team that had to wait. I believe they were one of the last teams to play a first-round game. And I asked Marc, I said, hey, nobody's really given you a chance. Do you embrace this underdog role? Do you expect to be Cinderellas, or is this something you're communicating to your team? And he told me, frankly, no, I don't need to tell them where we stand, because he then rattled off all the lists of names of players they were missing. And it kind of stood out to me because he just was so honest, and he didn't seem like he was necessarily using this underdog thing necessarily as a, the world is against us. He just said, we know who we are. And there were so many reasons for this team to give up. I've almost lost track of reasons to give up. And it came down even to that last game, that emotional loss to San Jose where they lose it at the end and had the lead, and then, get sort of run off the pitch by Seattle, and then Chicago has all the possession, and then they come back out in the second half. And in those stretches, they've showed really good moments. I mean, we know Mbam, his quality, Dahomey and Jordi Reyna, of course, coming on, made such a big difference as well. Nerwinski showed Hassall. There was a lot of big moments in the tournament, and I love the way that he was just honest with his players, and he said, look, there's a lot of reasons to give up, but he gave them a reason to push on and said, let's give everything we have. It wasn't always the prettiest. There were some nice moments, but to me, there's a lot there to build on.
It'll be interesting to see when the season resumes what the Vancouver Whitecaps in Part 2 of 2020 hold. Okay, during the MLS's back tournament, with every goal scored, Audi contributes $1,000. So far, there have been 105 tournament goals for a total of $105,000. During the MLS's back tournament championship match, every goal scored is worth $5,000. In addition, Audi will contribute $10,000 to the MLS's back tournament Golden Boot Winners Academy Club. And speaking of the Golden Boot presented by Audi, here are the standings. Now, no Ayo Akinola tonight, but he still remains a co-leader among the top with 5 goals alongside Diego Rossi. And then one of the Cinderella teams in this tournament, Chris Mueller's Orlando City, alongside Jossie Zardes, Tight Air, Bradley Wright-Phillips, and Jeremy Abobasi. Well, it feels like quite some time ago, but there was a game before Vancouver and Sporting Kansas City, and it was so clear in this one, guys. New York City FC came in with revenge on their minds.
Revenge and an early goal. And, Michael Bradley needs to do better on that clearance right there. And, this was a big moment for Jesus Medina because he hasn't delivered on that DP contract, but he's now delivered a couple of times in this tournament, and getting out on top early in this game was basically game defining for NYCFC. This was too bad right here because Ismail Tajiri-Shradi has been fantastic for them, but it got them to bring on Maxi Morales.
Yes.
They didn't know how many minutes he would have, and it turns out he had enough to really conduct the game for them and look like the guy who deservedly won Best 11 last year. He was fantastic, and NYCFC were fantastic in this one the whole night, Kalen.
Yeah, no, they came out and were the aggressive team. Of course, getting that early goal for a team in search of some confidence really pushed them on in the right direction. But yeah, it really was Maxi Morales. He ran the game, and yeah, you had Toronto FC coming on and made their substitutions late on, but just never really were able to find their footing, didn't look sharp, lacking a little bit of, I would say, match fitness or match sharpness, which is understandable because a lot of these guys were not necessarily in full fitness or able to participate from the start. But yeah, this is a big response from NYCFC, and if anything, just reminded me how important the number 10, Maxi Morales, is for them.
23 career goals now for Maxi Morales. New York City FC, I mean, if they are just on the trajectory with Ronnie Deila, I'm excited to see what they have in store. And you know Toronto FC is extremely frustrated to go home. Because I think, as Doyle said in our pregame show, you know, does lightning strike twice? Like, could the next guy step up? And it just wasn't enough. Let's take a look at the last 5 matchups between these two sides. As we discussed, TFC had dominated it prior to tonight's with 3 wins and a draw. And then that changes tonight as New York City FC starts to get the advantage over TFC with their 3-1 win. Big thanks to Maxi Morales. Kalen, how valuable is this guy?
Well, I think you could say, oh, it was the system, they're getting used to the system, and I felt sort of, sometimes it really is just that simple. One player can make that big of a difference, and Maxi Morales is, to me, the brain of the team. He's the one that takes them from a very talented collection of individuals, and there's a ton of them, to the guy that really connects them and makes them look more cohesive as a team. And even this one, it's just kind of, it's an over-the-head ball and just puts him into space, and then it allows Castellanos to get isolated 1v1, and you drag Omar out. And this is a position that Toronto has struggled with throughout the tournament. They have not been successful when you're able to drag those center backs out wide and turn them around. And Maxi just found so many different good spots and just was always able to conduct the field the way that we're used to seeing. Just dropping deep at times, finding these different areas, switching the point of attack. He was excellent again. And I thought it was interesting just by the fact that they brought him in so early, because it's a very rare thing to see a guy, especially coming off an injury, especially a muscle injury. But I think because of the 5 subs rule, it's something we haven't talked about enough, because I don't know if we've seen this happen, but it gives you the flexibility, if you're Deila, to bring him in a little bit earlier and then play him as long as you think you can go, but knowing that you can probably bring him off. Because normally, once a guy comes in 29th minute, he's got to finish it out, because then you're wasting 2 subs. But with 5, it becomes a little bit more of a gamble where you can put him on earlier with the understanding that you still have a few left and you can eventually take them out, which they did.
Doyle, do you think NYCFC has started to kind of find their stride and their rhythm under Ronnie Deila? This is just game 6 now for him. They get the 1-0 win over Miami. Tonight they make a bit of a statement over a TFC side kind of lacking in the attack. But do you think we see the next step in their quarterfinal game?
I mean, it's tough to say, because he's had to chop and change so much, and obviously having a 4-month break in the middle of all of the start of his tenure, it's tough to know exactly what he was going to do. But this is still most of the team that had 64 points last year in the regular season, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it wasn't broken for NYCFC last year, and we saw this team kind of simplify, and I think that was probably the right plan given everything that has happened in 2020. And I think that allowing them to simplify allowed them to end up controlling the game and force Toronto into taking risks that they didn't want to take. And of course, Toronto, as you said, shorthanded in the attack, which meant that even if they were taking risks, they weren't creating anything in terms of real danger or threatening Sean Johnson at all.
No Ayo Akinola with hamstring tightness, and Josie Altidore not fit for the 90 minutes. All right, time now for Matt Doyle's top tier. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, we took a look. Jesus Medina got the opening goal in the 5th minute, and that set the tone for what must have been a cathartic win for NYCFC over Toronto. It set the tone because it meant the Pigeons didn't have to chase the game at all, and instead could sit deep in their banks of 4, playing out of a low block and keeping Toronto in front of them at all times. Even when the Reds strung some passes together, it was always going to be possession without penetration. And then this is the key. Turnovers in possession turned into immediate counterattacking opportunities against a slow Toronto midfield and back line. In the 23rd minute, it didn't quite become a golden opportunity, but here in the 34th minute, a TFC turnover led directly to a fantastic save by Quentin Westberg. So it was always just a matter of time until NYCFC got their second on the break, and well, here it is. The midfield turnover, a brilliant pass from Maxi Morales, and this has been Toronto's nightmare all tournament long. All Pigeons all the time in this one. They got the early goal, they had the right blueprint, and now they've booked their ticket into the quarterfinals.
Catch more of Matt Doyle's top tier on MLSsoccer.com and on Twitter. After tonight's action, we know what more of our quarterfinals hold. The Philadelphia Union will be taking on Sporting Kansas City. New York City will take on the winner of the Portland Timbers and FC Cincinnati. And then after last night, Orlando will take on tomorrow night's winner, the Seattle Sounders and LAFC. And for that game, you'll have to watch this game first. The San Jose Quakes taking on Real Salt Lake tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern Time on FS1, Fox Deportes TSN. And then followed by, you may want to watch this one, the defending champs taking on the tournament favorites, I'll say, in LAFC, also on FS1, Fox, and TSN. That'll be at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And as always, you can catch MLS Today presented by AT&T before every match. We'll get you all caught up. Susanna, Charlie, and Doyle will have you covered. And then the MLS is Back post-game show presented by Audi wraps things up following Seattle, LAFC. That does it for our post-game show presented by Audi. Thank you for watching. Jillian Sakovitz alongside Kaylin Carr and Matt Doyle. Have a good night.